Hey folks, John Kelly. Welcome back to the Law Enforcement Life Coach Sometimes Heroes Need Help podcast. This podcast is being brought to you by On Target Claims, where their motto is on target from setback to settlement. Now listen, a little background. I've worked with these guys on the job, on the street for over 25 years, man, and they have always done the right thing and have always had my back. Now, in this second chapter, let them have your back. Right? You wouldn't go to court without an attorney. Why would you go up against an insurance company without representation, right? They represent you, the policyholder, when you go up against an insurance company submitting a claim. And I can tell you this, right? From beginning to end, they're going to be with you during the entire process. They're going to properly document that claim with the latest technology. And then when it comes time to getting things fixed, they've got a complete stable of vendors that are certified that are going to get it done right the first time. They also offer a pre-loss planning and policy review. So you know exactly what you're covered for, right? Make sure that you're adequately covered. The time to find out that you're not isn't after that horrific event. Okay? So give my friends a call at On Target Claims, 561-208-1775, or go to their website, ontargetclaims.com. They cover the entire state of Florida, offices in Fort Lauderdale and Tampa, and tell them John sent you. And now, let's get to the episode. Hey, folks, John Kelly. Welcome back to the Law Enforcement Life Coach Sometimes Heroes Need Help podcast. Sitting down with Bryan Weight. And man, I met Bryan in Jacksonville at a National Child Protection Task Force conference. And I just, the more I'm in this space, the more I'm blessed. I just meet people that are doing some amazing work. Bryan is the COO of Operation Light Shine and the Intercept Task Force. And you know what are they doing? They're dealing with the cartels running drugs. No, man, kids. They're out there protecting kids. And you don't even know this. You don't even know what's going on, and it's not your fault, man. It's just that we get distracted by shiny things, man, and the most vulnerable fall through the cracks. And what Bryan and his organization and all of his strategic partners, we're going to get into all of that. What they're doing is that they're stepping in the breach. They are the guys and gals and professionals out there doing the work that not only needs to be done, but is unfortunately so very necessary when we start talking with Bryan and the extent to which that this problem is it's not a local problem, it's not a state problem, it's a global problem. And so I'm just blessed and so happy to have Bryan here with us this morning. Bryan, it's great to see you, my friend.
John, great to see you too, brother. I appreciate you and your platform and just giving us a moment to speak and catch up. It's been a minute since the training, so it's good to see
man.
you.
No,
Awesome.
It's awesome. So listen, where are you, though? You're right. Wait a minute. You're like not too far. We could have done breakfast this morning and maybe done it at the house. You're on the east. You're an East Coast guy.
I am. Yep. So currently I live in Delaware. But yeah, I'm
Need to update that. You need to update that LinkedIn profile, my friend.
No,
You
trust
threw
me.
me a curveball.
Now I'm moving back to Florida in July because we have two offices there. And so for me, it'll be a little bit easier, less on planes if I can be in Florida. But yeah, I'm currently East Coast at the moment. So
Okay, man. All right. Well, I'll make sure I make that.
Yeah, I need to update my link.
Yeah, man, do that, will you? You're killing me. That's all. Well, you know what? These aren't bad problems to have, man, because you are all over the place. So for the listener, right? I kind of framed it a little bit, but I really, you say it perfectly. So, Operation Light Shine, Intercept Task Force. Tell me, what are you guys are about, and really, why should I give a shit?
Yeah. So essentially, our mission statement is empowering the protection of children, right? And the way that we do that is, for those of you guys that don't know, the main thing we do is focus on child exploitation and trafficking. And the reason that we do that is what we've seen is that it is so grossly underfunded, under-resourced in this fight against exploitation and trafficking. So the US government spends about 40, it was at 40, just went to 42 billion with a B annual budget this year in counter drugs. What you don't know is that the counter exploitation and trafficking budget has been at and is staying at 200 million with an M. So if you're to look at that disparity, right? I mean, it is giant.
How we doing on that war on drugs?
Or getting our teeth kicked in.
We're
It's not one,
we're
yeah,
throwing good money after bad, man.
correct.
Whatever that saying is, I probably messed that up, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's for us, we saw that disparity, and when meeting with law enforcement, it's like, what is it going to take to move the needle in this fight to protect our kids? It's the funding. They don't have resources, they don't have bodies, they don't have the technology to kind of keep up with this fight or even try to make a dent in it. So as an organization, we said that's not right. We're going to stand in that gap where the government leads off, and we're going to go out and privately fundraise, stand up independently funded task forces, and give these guys everything they need to try to truly make a difference in this fight.
dude, that's amazing. See, this is what partnership looks like.
Yes.
That's what comes to mind immediately. That this is what partnership looks like, because a lot, law enforcement, they can tend to be so mission focused that they don't see the the scope is so narrow that they don't see, like, how could pairing civilians, do we want to partner with? Yes, they're smarter than you, right? They have resources. Their brain works differently, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that when we pair that, right, with people that have just this foundational servant heart, doesn't matter what uniform you wear, what it doesn't matter what logo you have on your polo, man. That
Yeah.
if you want to jump in and become part of the solution, and you're doing that really in some amazing ways. Um, like you've got this eye for strategic partnering, right? Talk to me about that.
So we understand that collaboration is key, right? I mean, one organization, one law enforcement agency, one by itself is nothing, right? There's power in numbers. For us as an organization, it's forming those partnerships with state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies in that realm of building these task forces, right? But we also view it as we as an NGO or a nonprofit, we can't go and do these arrests. So we have to do our own fight and do our own work too. So it's standing up those independent partnerships and collaborations with other NGOs in this space. So we all can link arms together, right? And utilize each other's platforms, get the word out, because this fight against trafficking exploitation is so under talked about. I mean, trafficking is a keyword, it's a buzzword. You see it in Hollywood movies, but
Right.
it's so not what it's portrayed to be. But you start talking about exploitation and child sexual abuse material, people have no clue what you're talking about. So
Mm.
our goal is to, again, form partnerships and collaborations with law enforcement agencies, form partnerships and collaborations with other NGOs in the space, and let's do some good work and try to make a difference.
And speaking, I know you've partnered recently with the National Child Protection Task Force, Kevin Brinzetti, and
Yep.
like in partnership with the Tim Tebow Foundation.
Yes.
Um, I was when I saw you in Jacksonville, I was like, that's a lot of moving pieces to this puzzle, man.
Yeah.
And what I like my takeaway, and it was just one of many. Like from a technology standpoint, like law enforcement still using FI cards. We're still writing with a pencil on a piece of paper, right? To use an analogy, like the information that we need on the suspect. And you guys have access to the listen, the technology law enforcement obtains is the lowest bid, right? That's what they go for. What's the lowest bid? And it's usually technology that's antiquated. But you're bringing top notch level technology and resources to this fight. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so what we've seen is this crime type isn't your typical narcotics or SVU murder stuff like that, right? Where it's hard evidence, right? Our fight is a digital platform. It's a digital thing that we're fighting. So it's hard drives, computers, cell phones, sometimes cars because of the capabilities they have inside of them now, but it's that digital platform. So what we've seen is technology is expensive. And this is a technology-based fight. So our goal is to go out and seek out these technology companies that offer the best of the best when it comes to this fight and have a conversation with them.
Mm.
Tell them about our fight. A lot of them know about it because this is what they do. They sell software. The main reason we started OLS, right, is because government agencies typically have a better budget. They typically have a little bit better software, hardware programming. But your state and local guy, especially local, that's where the fall off is. So when they're working these cases, typically they're already having conversations with federal agencies. Hey, look, we need help cracking this phone. We need help processing this data. We need help doing all these things. So they're already kind of working with them because they have the best technology. So we have a great personnel on our team. Jim Cole, he's our director of law enforcement and technology.
I
He's been in
met,
this.
I met, think I met Jim up in Jacksonville. Yeah, good egg, man.
We are so blessed to have Jim on our team. And he comes from that background, right? He was on the forefront of this fight, really the spear of the tip when it comes to this thing. So he has a great idea of these technology companies that are out there and what they're doing. So we have a great opportunity to leverage his knowledge and go after them. I mean, there's so many things that they do that are so archaic, and it's not their fault. It's just they haven't caught up to times. Even when it comes to if a agency in this state wants to send something to this state, like it's old school hard drives, thumb drives in a secured mailbox, mail to that secured team, right? There's no cloud-based stuff really. So for us, it's presenting these opportunities and presenting these technologies to our partners to make sure they're fully equipped and everything they need in this crime type. Because the problem is with federal agencies too, or state Bureau of Investigation departments, you can be working with them. And what we're seeing is just because they have the technology doesn't mean you have access to it right away. So for example, in Tennessee, if I am investigating this crime type and I seize a phone and I turn it over to TBI for help because I don't have the technology in my department to crack this phone or get what I need off of it, currently it is almost a 12-month lead time before you even get the data off of this phone. What that means is that guy is probably bailing out. That guy is probably destroying evidence we haven't found yet. That guy could be reoffending or offending somebody new. So we
Dude, it's all of the above. He is doing all of the above.
correct. So that's where we see like we have to supply our law enforcement and our task forces with this technology so that does not happen.
Yeah,
So
there's a timely in any investigation. There's a timeliness of it, right? And and
absolutely
and and these aren't guys that we want sitting
no,
out in the public, because if they're sitting, they're offending.
correct.
Um, that's not that's I appreciate you explaining that to me. Um, we talked a little bit of before we actually started recording. You're you're branching out, man. You got some task forces forming around the country. Um, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Jacksonville. Um, and I looked at some stats. Not that I'm a stat guy, but I was kind of blown away, man. For the first quarter of the year,
Yep.
66 arrests, 47 indictments, 45 rescues,
Yes.
512 assisted in 512 investigations. This is the part that kind of spun my head a little bit. Examined over 36 million videos and pictures. And you sent over $376,000 to law enforcement for this fight. Holy smokes! And when I saw all those numbers, I said, "All right, that's in the first quarter." That's in the first. That's one organization, right?
Yep.
One organ. You don't investigate these aren't numbers from the entire country.
No.
These are just where you've been able to assist in investigations. Am I right?
Those stats are based off of our current 5 task forces. So those are Frederick, Maryland, Richmond, Virginia, Nashville, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Florida, and Naples, Fort Myers, Florida. So 5 locations.
East
And that's our first.
scattered amongst the East Coast. Yeah, and so that's the other thing. I was talking with Kevin Brinzetti, who's in this fight, man, and he said, when it comes to reporting, like agencies tracking and reporting, it's crickets sometimes, man. Like it's not sexy, it's not, it's not funded,
No.
and so, you know, he said, the next time you're at a city council meeting, or ask the chief, how do we track runaways, uh, uh, child exploitation? How do we track the children that are at risk in our communities, and be prepared for not having an answer.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was pretty eye opening. One of the things, I was at a conference, Bryan, and they talked about how AI is helping this fight. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I know there was an old way of doing things, and there's a new way, utilizing AI to help. I think, specifically, I was going to talk about the videos and the pictures, right? Is that, am I on point with that, brother?
You are. So what we're seeing is clearly with the advancement of AI, there's going to be great things that come from it, and then there's going to be some bad things that come from it, just like anything, right? So what we're seeing in this fight is the escalating rise of AI generated child sexual abuse material and imagery, right? So what that means is these offenders now don't have to go online and do certain things to acquire this material. What they can do now is get on Instagram, find a mom, find a picture of these kids, pull a couple of them off, dump them into AI, and ask it to generate certain things, right? So we're seeing it's a rising thing. It is bad already. And the scary part is we're just at the beginning of AI. It's only going to get better. AI is only going to continue to advance.
Sure.
It's only continue to grow. So what we're seeing now is just insane to be able to tell the difference between an AI generated imagery and an actual child abuse material imagery. So this is hindering investigations, right? So a cop who seizes, or a law enforcement partner that seizes this phone, and they're going through and analyzing this data now and all these images, it's now looking at it going, well, is this a real kid being offended, or is this somebody that's now generated this imagery? And so it's really causing this lag in investigations, making sure we're figuring out who these children are.
Right.
And the other side of that is now these predators who have been in this crime type for a while and have watched a certain series, right? That's their thing. And I'm not going to get into it, but in this field, there are certain series that are very famous to these perpetrators, right? There's certain names for them.
Sure. You don't need to
What
delve
they're
into
able to
any
now
trade
do is kind
secrets.
of
Right.
take that series, take that video, and now put it into AI, and now they can memorialize and then do another version of it. So basically, this is basically, in a sense, reoffending some of these children too.
Right.
That some of them now are grown-ups, that now their video that is still out there is now being pulled and generated, memorialized, and now it's creating new content. So it's very scary. There are certain things we're asking and trying to push to get these AI companies to do when it comes to watermarking, right? I mean, if we had simple watermarking on some imagery, we would very quickly be able to tell real image, AI generated.
Understood.
And trying to figure out ways to engage the AI community into understanding, like, yeah, there are great pros, but there are some giant cons as well.
No doubt.
Turn a blind eye to. Like, we need your help making sure we safeguard our children, even with this advancement in technology.
Right. That makes sense. So that's definitely the negative. one of the pros is, though, I was talking with uh, an investigator. There's some AI programming out there that allows the investigator to not actually have to be exposed to watching 36 million videos and pictures, right? So talk to me about that part. Talk to me about the positive part of AI on that.
Yeah, there definitely is a giant positive part. One of our friends is Magnet Forensics. We use their software and technology in all of our locations. They just had a big summit in Nashville. I had the opportunity to go attend and kind of see some of the new tech that are coming out. And one of them is that, to where now an investigator gets a phone and they can now prompt it in certain things to pull up keywords. So instead of them having to literally shuffle through text messages, right, and just try to, you don't know what you're going to see when you're trying to look for certain things. You don't know what
Right.
you're going to find. They now have the ability to type in a phrase, a word, an image, and it now will auto-populate and dump every part of that texting set, that thread, to them
Right.
to then pull and extract and use. And so it's able to kind of, like you said, that's part of it, is giving longevity back to these investigators and these analysts. Because
Right.
what people don't understand is, these people, majority of them too, are parents, right? So just imagine every day
Yeah.
you have to go into work, you have to sit down in front of a computer, you have to kiss your children goodbye, and you go to work and you go nose to nose with the most evil people out, and you have to literally, it's kind of weird. We had a conversation about this last night, because it's really one of my big things right now is our law enforcement partners and taking care of them mentally. Um, you have to hope that you're just looking, this is going to sound very bad and morbid, but you have to hope that just you have to look at images, right? Because images is a still picture. Yes, it is bad and it is awful. But the moment these investigators look at videos, it's, you're viewing an act and you're hearing these children literally screaming
Hmm.
and crying.
Can't imagine.
And it's
Can't imagine.
just
No,
like the
it's got to.
mental it takes. That's where technology, we want to be able to give these guys tools to where that they can step away from that a
Yeah, they don't
lot.
have to be exposed to that to
Yeah,
capture that as evidence.
correct. So it's a very vital tool that we have to continue to advance and continue to get out and
Right. Yeah.
talk about.
That's and that's giving back some sense of peace and normalcy to an investigator who's immersed in this horrible world.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's definitely something. And those are services and relationships and partnerships that you're developing with high tech to actually not only make the investigation uh, more productive, but to lessen the horrific negative impact on the
Yes.
investigators that have to review these images. And I mean, it's bad enough having to sit across from somebody and interview them,
Yep.
right? Without wanting to smash their head into a wall. Now you got all these images floating around in your head of what they did. It's a recipe for a lot of self-destructive behavior and not so great coping skills that we already do a pretty bad job of taking care of ourselves to begin with. Now
Yeah.
throw this on top of it, and you've got a group of men and women that are dying inside.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's awesome. It's an awesome um, initiative to kind of take care of those people that are trying to protect our kids. Talk to me about some upcoming events and maybe some partnerships that are on the horizon, because this is something how do we get in touch with you, Bryan? How do we find out more about the work that you're doing?
Yeah. So for us, it's really simple. You can visit our website, www.operationlightshine.org. We also have all our social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I think we're on pretty much every platform.
Okay.
So you can check us out on all those parts. Upcoming things we have right now, we just did, we finished the training. I don't think we have another one quite yet, because we have a couple new locations that we're working with about bringing online, like you mentioned, to Oklahoma, Alabama. But outside of that, I'm currently in Atlanta right now. There's an ICAT conference here. So we're here doing that. We have a booth up, talking to law enforcement partners about what we do. And then Jim's presenting on a couple different topics. And then big things we have going on. We actually have some really cool opportunities, hopefully coming up in the next quarter or two with NCPTF on some very proactive operations versus reactive. Because in this crime type, majority of what we have to do is just reactive. There's just so many of these reports and cases coming in that we just can't take on proactive of things. So we're working on a program to kind of do some proactive ops with them coming up,
Nice.
which we're going to try to do our best to kind of get out what we're doing and share some more information. So we've got some really exciting things coming up, but it's we're drinking from a fire hose at the moment, man. We're just trying to stay caught up, but it's a great problem to have. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so if people want to support, donate, help, they can do all that through the website as well,
yeah,
Bryan?
everything is on there. Absolutely. Yeah, you can donate. A big thing for us is what we call our Guardian program, and that is a recurring monthly donation of a minimum $40 or more. And
Right.
what that allows you to do is kind of be part of a community. It takes, some people say, look, I want to donate, I want to donate. It takes the pressure off of having to remember to donate. You can just
Right.
sign up the recurring button and automatically every month. And also with that, we send out quarterly gifts. So you'll receive a custom Guardian gift every quarter that you stay on with the program. So it's kind of a way for us to kind of thank you for what you're doing and for you to feel fully involved and part of this fight with us as the team.
That's awesome. I've seen you speak, and I know that this is near and dear to your heart, man. If you could, I always ask the guests, maybe to talk to the men and women out there doing the job, just to pass on just some thoughts in your own words. Anything that you'd like to tell them before we wrap, brother?
Yeah. So for me, it's something bigger than myself, right? That's why I do what I do. We just had a team meeting, and I literally went around with our staff and just asked, what is your why? Right? Everybody has an opportunity to do a lot of different things in life, but what is your purpose? What is your why of Operation Light Shine? Why do you want to be here? And for me, my why is twofold. It is supporting our law enforcement partners who have zero voice in this fight. You don't really see them on the news. You don't really see about what they do. You don't really hear about their fight that they're in. So my why is that, and my also other why is, being sensitive to my calling from God, right? So I'm a believer. I believe everything in this world happens for a reason. I believe I'm called to do something. And for me, it is this, I'm a father of two. I have a beautiful daughter and a beautiful son. And knowing once I first heard about this crime type before I got on with OLS and knowing what it is, it basically overcame me. And I was like, I come from the corporate space. I didn't have the opportunity to be law enforcement. I was a full-time firefighter for 3 years. But once I heard about it, it was almost like I felt called. Like, I go to work every day. I make some corporate company or some guy a lot of money. I go home and it's just like, what did I truly do today to make a difference? Knowing that if I ever leave, I made an impact.
Mm.
And so it's at that moment that I just was like, listen, I need to get involved whenever I can, bring me on. I came in and I haven't looked back since. So it's just knowing that, so many people view job as you got to be successful, and successful looks different to so many different people. For me, it's success isn't money. Granted, yes, success, money makes the world go round. You have to have it. But success for me is knowing that I'm making an impact. Success for me is knowing that I'm protecting children, that, we're truly doing something that's bigger than ourselves and bigger than selfish ambitions. So, for me, it's just do what you love, find something you're passionate about. Don't, feel your calling, be sensitive to listen to it, be willing to go, be willing to do it. So that's my little nugget before we wrap.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you. And Bryan, I'll put all that information in the show notes for the listeners so they don't have to go hunting for it. Um, you're doing amazing things, brother. I'm so blessed to have you as somebody that I can rely on. Bryan Weight, thank you for all that you do. Operation Light Shine, Intercept Task Force. It's been a pleasure, brother.
You too, John. Appreciate you, man.
And that is that, my friend.